we're doing 90s debut death metal records today.
These are really some of the top tier stuff that came out in the 90s and still matter to this day.
And before you fucking naysayers say bullshit like, where's Morbid Angel and where's Obituary Slowly We Rot and where's Death, Scream, Bloody Gore, those didn't come out in the 90s. So shut the fuck up. No! Let's kick it off with a biggie. Cannibal Corpse eaten back to life.
There was a film in the wind, totally get one on the dead. I wasn't just getting shot on a bed, so I thought of it July.
This is a super iconic death metal record and arguably one of the most important in this list. A lot of people love this record. The album art is completely iconic.
Ew.
Here's the thing. It is not the strongest debut in this list, in my opinion.
Not even close, dude. 1990, you know, death metal is still kind of in its infancy. For this to come out and to have just a very clear focus in terms of the themes and shit like that, like, yeah, they kind of knew what they wanted and they came out strong. However,
Say it like you mean it, ma.
in the grand scheme of all of these, this is definitely like C tier.
I 100% agree with you. I would say it's good. Definitely a good record. It's important. I love the performances on here. The atmosphere is really cool. It's no bleeding.
No.
Sorry,
No.
it's not.
It's not the bloodthirst.
Nope.
Yeah.
And you can watch our Cannibal Corpse raking, right?
Yeah, if you haven't,
Raking?
we've been raking leaves a lot up here. In
I haven't. You
England,
should see my yard. Next one, Entombed, Left Hand Path. We got some Swedish stuff here, baby.
Fuck yeah, man. This is one of like the best eras of like melodic death metal, when melodic death metal was still kind of in its infancy, grabbing some influences from like classic trad metal with the harmonies and shit like that.
Nope.
Also that like meaty, throaty graveyard feel. Dude, this album is unbelievable, dude.
It has such a cool atmosphere to it. People have been chasing the sound ever since with that HM2 chainsaw vibe. It is just the best, man. Bloodbath has been basically living off the coattails of this record ever since Left Hand Path came out. For me, this is S tier. It's perfection.
I don't even want to disagree with that, man. Truly. I have it at A+, but for you to put it at S, I'm not even going to disagree.
And now we're going to go satanic, not gory, but satanic. Deicide with their self-titled in 1990. This is my favorite Deicide record, and also it is one of my favorite death metal records ever written. The atmosphere on this record is just absolutely unparalleled. The satanic vibes, the riffs are so fucking awesome. It is just a fantastic death metal record from front to back. I'd argue Stench of Redemption later in their career came pretty close to this one.
Okay.
But dude, Deicide 1990, chef's kiss.
Yeah, man, if you put a gun to my head and said, pick a Deicide album, this would be the one. Just because the pacing is so perfect. It's like 33 minutes, but it crucifies you while you're listening to it. It's like technical, but a little sloppy, but still just, dude, I love this record for sure.
Pissed. Too.
Yeah,
I love
it's very pissed at God.
Yes. I'm not mad at God, but they kind of make me want to be.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into 1991. I don't know why I just did this chicken motion.
That's what you did in 91.
Yeah, I was 4. I probably was doing this.
Yeah, right.
This guy sucks.
Immolation with Dawn of Possession. Another fantastic death metal record. Really great riffs on this one. The production on this one I feel like is a tad lackluster compared to the other albums in this list. but that does not affect the songwriting power on this. It is definitely an awesome record. I put it in B tier. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of at like a B minus. Definitely better than Eaten Back to Life so far, but I don't think it comes close to Entombed or Deicide. It's just a really strong East Coast, Northeast, death metal record. New York death metal scene was just kind of starting to get up. Immolation and Incantation, who is also on this list, spoiler alert, put out very similar records, and I feel very similarly about the records. I think a B tier is definitely worthwhile.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten. Oh boy. This album, dude. When this came out, I didn't know death metal could be this brutal and just unrelentingly slammy.
Yeah.
It's a blueprint.
For sure is, dude. And like I was just saying, New York death metal, man, and then Suffocation pops up. It's no coincidence here that all of these bands that came out of this pocket of the US just have put out unique, but also equally brutally devastating stuff.
So good.
Dude, for 1991, like this kind of stuff did not really exist. We are so jaded here in 2023 that, like, you put on fucking Lorna Shore and Slaughter to Prevail, and it's like at your fingertips, like how this brutally heavy music, you throw back to 30 years ago, it was not like that. The landscape was completely different. So for Suffocation to put out Effigy of the Forgotten was monumental, and it still is.
Yeah, and the band is still crushing it. New record
with a new
slaps.
record. Yeah. I have it at a solid A.
Yeah, me too.
You need to hear this record for sure.
Is essential listening for 90s debut death metal. And another really great record, Dismember, like an ever-flowing stream. This is one of the best, more melodic leaning death metal records, I would argue. It's got those really cool harmonies all over the record. The vocal performance on this is awesome. The drums are punishing. It is not necessarily like a total top tier death metal record, but for me, it is essential.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite bands. This is an album that I don't often revisit, but I understand like its power, especially for, 92 coming off of what Sweden was doing in 1990 with Entombed. Dismember comes out and they do something a little more melodic, not quite as atmospheric. I really, really enjoy this record. I'd put it at a B. You have it at
an A. Essential.
Okay. Let's put it below Suffocation. I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I really like this record.
We're gonna like an ever lower the score.
No, I put it at A.
Oh, I thought you meant B.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you meant like below Suffocation.
Like there.
Unleashed. Yes, where no light dwells. Sometimes death metal records, they don't necessarily have to be super top tier, amazing, absolutely essential death metal records for you to really enjoy them. And this is a great example of that. Where No Light Dwells is not necessarily the gore fest death metal that you were getting in the early 90s with a lot of other bands, but man, does it just punish you like crazy with those really cool, almost thrashy like tendency riffs. For me, it's an awesome tier, but curious your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'm basically in the same vein. It's not one that I revisit a ton, but whenever I hear the name Unleashed, and I see the record album cover, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a strong one to go to and just fire up.
It's a lot of fun, and it's punishing, and if you like that more thrashier death metal sound, I would say this is top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
This band does not get enough attention in the death metal scene, and that's Malevolent Creation, and especially with 10 Commandments. I really like this record a lot. Their later discography is definitely stronger than this album, but the inner workings of what they have going here, the production is unrelenting here. I love the way that they do their riffing too. It's not overly complicated. They have those long tremolo runs that are sometimes harmonized. And the vocals, dude, super unique.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you said that you like the production. I actually find the production very difficult to listen to on this one, especially compared to like their later stuff. But dude, like you said, the blueprint, the foundation for what Malevolent Creation was doing, dude, it's so good, man. The guitaring on here, like us as guitar players, like we love to hear this shit. I have this at C+, mainly because I don't revisit it as much as their other ones, and I don't really care much for the production, so I would definitely put it over Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, I agree with you. We can do that. So, little do people know, early Darkthrone and Soulside Journey in 1991 is actually a death metal record. To be honest, I kind of wish they experimented more with the sound because I really like this record a lot. There's some cool atmosphere on it. Yeah, the production is rough, but the atmosphere on it, dude, it just sounds like Darkthrone doing death metal. It's awesome.
I was definitely glad to see this one on here just because, like you said, it's overlooked. There's something unique about it that has that kind of Darkthrone spirit, but it also kind of like grabs onto some of those like doomy influences. A little bit of like the black metal stuff is in there too. I don't find myself revisiting this one a lot. This isn't a band that I'm like super into, but the fact that they even just put this out and like nobody really talks about it definitely deserves to be on this list. I have it at good.
Okay, let's put it above Cannibal Corpse.
Yes, all right. That works for me.
Sound off in the comments how much you hate me about it. I hope there's death threats, because that's what we've been getting lately.
Yeah.
How much more beta mail can you get?
No shit.
What the fuck is this world? What have they done to us? What did they do to us?
Now, Broken Hope, swamped in Gore. This is a really fun death metal record that not a lot of people talk about, and honestly, Broken Hope is a very underrated death metal band. In particular, I would say that their later discography is definitely better, but what a cool debut for the band.
Dude, this was one of the albums that I had no idea on this list. So thank you for putting it on my lap. It's really cool, definitely unique for the time period. Again, transport yourselves back to the early 90s if you even fucking existed. Think of just how different the landscape was then. Like, actually, one thing that I noticed about Broken Hope when I was looking it up is this is one of the first recordings done digitally. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was, you know, it is what it is. You could probably listen back to it and be like, oh man, analog sounding awesome. No, that was a digital album. So I don't think I would revisit this one in particular, but I am now going to be on a Broken Hope string of listening habits.
That's awesome.
Because I'm super intrigued. They're still modern. They came out with an album a couple of years ago. I'd probably put it below Cannibal Corpse just for me.
I would say it's about the same in terms of quality for me.
Okay.
Great band. Great band. Incantation, Onward Toward Golgotha. I really like this record a lot. I love the power in the production, but I feel like it's like clipping. You know, the guitars are sort of blown out sounding. There's a lot of woofiness to it, although it does kind of add to the character. And compared to Immolation, I would say Incantation has a lot more low end and beefiness to it, but really cool record overall. This is another top tier death metal band that has just been releasing banger after banger since their debut. I put this at awesome. Curious your thoughts.
Dude, like I said, Immolation and Incantation, two bands from very similar areas, two bands with very similar names. I find these albums are very closely related to each other. If you ran both of these albums back to back, I'd be like, wow, that was like an epic death metal journey, you know?
Yeah.
I love the fucking vocals on this. They're just like so scary sounding. It's super unique for this time. I have it at B- ish. I would probably...
Let's put it above Unleashed.
Yeah, I think those two match very well, Immolation and Incantation. And the way that those bands diverged from the beginning of their sound is just so cool.
Another underappreciated death metal band. I don't understand why, because Dan Swana was a fucking genius. But Edge of Sanity, Nothing But Death Remains, released in 1991. Absolutely insane band. I would say that this is one of the weaker albums in the catalog, but it is a debut. They're getting their feet under them. The sound is getting developed. What they became later, which is like the more kind of progressive, melodic tendency type band. The DNA is definitely here in this album, and there's a lot of really great tunes on this. I would say it's awesome, but definitely scope their later catalog.
Yeah, for sure. If you are familiar with Edge of Sanity and then you listen to this, you're going to be like, is this even the same band? And
yeah.
There's definitely the DNA there. It's cool to see like progressive bands that have kind of start with like more humble roots and stuff like that. You can tell that they're trying to be a little more forward thinking and they're just kind of getting their feet underneath them. Yeah, I'd probably put it behind Unleashed.
Yeah, I would say around Unleashed. At the Gates, The Red in the Sky is ours. I would say this one has a rough takeoff for the band. I'll go as far as that. I know a lot of people really love this record, and there is some kind of unmatched, unparalleled atmosphere on here and a lot of really cool moments.
Yeah.
But this is not an album that I revisit very much by At the Gates. I do think it was an important death metal record, though, because this started pushing like, holy shit, we can do this with death metal.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing to say. But for me, this is a good record.
Yeah, I have it at awesome. I do tend to revisit this album quite a bit. I think that the earlier stuff to me is much more unique than like the Slaughter of the Soul era, just because I didn't even know that like At the Gates was doing this kind of stuff when I first heard them. And then I listened back to this album and Gardens of Grief and Terminal Spirit Disease, and I was like, holy shit, this band was like wild.
Yes.
Like doing just like very bizarre, kind of progressive, maybe even like slightly avant-garde kind of stuff. It's not my favorite album in this period for sure, but it's definitely one that I think is overlooked. I have it at like a B+. I'd probably listen to it over a lot of those albums in the B tier, but you have it
around Unleashed, something like that.
Okay.
Or in here somewhere.
Yeah, I'd put it.
I would put it above Edge of Sanity.
Okay.
Demilich, Nespithe, released in 1993. This one has a cult following.
Dude.
A lot of death metal fans that
For
really
good
love
reasons.
Yes.
For very good reason.
This record is way the fuck ahead of its time. If this came out today, this has such cool riffs. The toilet death metal vocals are hilarious, but also fit perfectly.
I don't understand how they fit so well. I like want to laugh at them, but I'm like, I can't hear it any other way, dude.
It sounds like madness seeping into your brain.
Yeah.
I would say bands are still chasing this sound today and haven't quite perfected it. What a fantastic record. The only reason why I don't have this in S tier is because Entombed and Deicide were a little inching ahead for me, but this is essential listening death metal for me.
Yeah, dude, I have this at like A+, over Suffocation, over Dismember. I just cannot get enough of this record. Anytime I hear it, it's almost like listening to it for the first time because it's so
dense.
That's a really good way to put it. It's very dense. It's like drinking like a very fine wine or like eating like a very rich chocolate cake. It's just so like confusing-ish and progressive, and I love this record, dude. It's so unique.
It's warranted. Let's put it up here.
Hell yeah.
I would say it's equal with Suffocation for me.
Okay.
But a lot of people would put this on a doom metal list too because of it's got a death doom crossover. But Disembowelment, Transcendence into the Peripheral, released in 1993. A lot of bands are still chasing this sound today.
For sure.
Like 90% of the bands on Transcending Obscurity Records try to sound like Disembowelment, and I understand why, because it's just such a fantastic DNA blueprint for that death doom sound. Going back and listening to it, it holds up. It's definitely fucking awesome. But I do kind of feel like with the tropes and the way the genre has moved towards death doom now, I feel like there's been some improvements that I wish were in this record, but I can't deny how important it was.
Something for me that I really took into consideration when I gave it this score was the fact that this band very much caught lightning in a bottle. To think that this is a standalone album circa a time where death doom was still very much in its infancy. The only death doom that was really happening was like melodic death doom with like Anathema and Paradise Lost and yada yada yada. So for these guys to come out and release this would be a highly unique album and stand alone for years. So with that all said, I have it at Essential just because I think it is just a monumental thing in its own way. Upon revisiting it, do parts drag? Fuck yeah. Is the production meh? It hasn't aged as well as some of these albums.
I would put it at the top of the B tier.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Move over, Immolation. You gotta make some room. He's like, I'm immovable.
You big dildo.
It got a little giggle.
Speaking of giggles, Cryptopsy. Blasphemy made flesh. This record, we couldn't diverge more, but I think it's just because of our preferences with death metal. This is a fucking chaotic, crazy ass, underappreciated in terms of tech death wankery album. I appreciate it a ton. I think it's absolutely crazy in terms of the vocal department, the riff department. The drums are stupid. But it's so much that I don't really revisit it. So for me, I would say it's good, but I acknowledge how talented the band is.
Yeah, man. We just talked about how like dense and chaotic and vicious that Demilich record is, and Cryptopsy does that, but with like the fat cut off to me, you know. This is my S tier. I fucking love this record, dude. It is just a half hour of like feeling like you're becoming an abomination. Like it is just madness. Interspersed within the madness are these like slam parts or these breakdowns that like turn my fucking face inside out, dude. Like I don't understand, dude, the timing and like all the shit on this record, so chaotic, but it works so well. The way that this band has just progressed from where they started is just so cool to see. I love this record. I might say I like None So Vile a little bit more, but like this early tech death stuff to me is just so unique.
And I also love the very 90s album art. It's
wicked.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. So if I'm going to have an S, I would say Entombed and Cryptopsy for me. Yeah.
I would say this is a pretty cool, unconventional list. A lot of people probably wouldn't do their death metal ranking of debuts like this. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Leave them down in the comments below. And also check out some of our other tier rankings right here.
Go with the gods, Forge mates. You will be immolated.